The first sign was the faint rustle, a sound like 1,000 tiny whispers at my front door. I thought nothing of it. Just a windy day in our perfectly manicured cul-de-sac. Maybe a leaf skittering across the welcome mat. I was dead wrong. So incredibly wrong. What greeted me when I opened that door wasn't the mailman or a package, but a tidal wave of white, packing peanuts. They poured in. A silent, suffocating avalanche that smelled faintly of static and spite. I was trapped in my own home. A prisoner in a sea of styrofoam. A victim of a crime so absurd, I almost laughed. Almost. But then I saw her, standing across the street with a triumphant smirk. Her arms crossed over her pristine floral dress. Karen, the president of the Evergreen Acres Homeowners Association. My blood ran cold. A sharp, bitter wave of realization. She didn't just flood my house. She declared war. I stumbled back, my feet sinking into the artificial snow. The sound of my sneakers crunching under the pressure, a deafening assault. A gasp escaped my lips. A short, sharp breath of pure shock. This was beyond petty. Beyond the usual passive-aggressive notes about lawn length or garbage can placement. This was an act of pure, unadulterated aggression. And why? Because I dared to build a small, rustic shed in my backyard without her express permission. Even though the bylaws clearly stated a structure under 100 square feet was exempt. I stood there, knee-deep in the feathery white mess, feeling the heat of her stare and the cold, sinking feeling of injustice. A neighbor, an older man named Mr. Henderson, peered out his window, his face a mask of concern. Did he see what she did? Did anyone? The sheer audacity of it all was breathtaking. I had to do something. I had to fight back. The next few hours were a blur of furious activity. I scooped. I bagged. I swept. The tiny foam pellets clinging to everything. A relentless, plastic snow. With each shovel full, my anger simmered, then boiled. This wasn't just a prank. It was a property crime. An act of intentional malice. But as I toiled, a tiny, unsettling detail snagged my attention. A faint, almost imperceptible discoloration on some of the peanuts. A pale, reddish-brown stain. I brushed it off at first, thinking it was just dirt. But as I collected more, I saw it again and again. A ghostly hint of rust. And then I remembered the old, cast-iron bird bath I had been restoring in my garage. I'd been using a new, rust-removing solution. A liquid that was notoriously difficult to clean. A liquid that, if spilled, could cause major damage. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Could she have? No. But what if she had? What if this wasn't just a foolish act of vengeance, but something more sinister? That night, I didn't just clean. I documented. I took pictures of the mess, the discolored peanuts, the bird bath in my garage. I wrote down every detail, every memory of our past interactions, the microaggressions and the blatant power plays. I meticulously crafted a timeline, a narrative of a hostile neighbor who believed her authority superseded all common sense and law. The next day, I didn't go to the HOA meeting. I went to the courthouse. My claim was simple, direct, and unassailable: trespassing and intentional property damage. The evidence was all there. A mountain of foam and a trail of circumstantial rust stains that, together, painted a very clear picture. When Karen received the summons, she was, by all accounts, livid. A screeching phone call to Mr. Henderson, who had now become my reluctant confidant, confirmed her fury. He can't do this. I am the HOA president. He is breaking the rules. But I wasn't. She was. And now, she would face the consequences. The courtroom was a sterile, unforgiving place. The air hung heavy with the weight of conflict, of shattered neighborly peace. Karen, in her finest business suit, sat across from me, her face a mask of cool disdain. Her lawyer, a slick-haired man in a too-tight suit, presented her defense. My client was merely attempting to return excess packaging material to the plaintiff, a known hoarder, who was in violation of community aesthetic guidelines. It was a bold-faced lie, and the rust-stained packing peanuts I brought as evidence told a different story. I took the stand, my voice trembling at first, but gaining strength as I spoke, the injustice of it all fueling my words. I described the shock, the feeling of being violated, the sheer lunacy of the act. I showed the photos. I presented the signed letter from the city's building department, confirming my shed was well within legal limits. The judge listened, his expression impassive, a human sphinx. And then, he turned to Karen. "Ms. Carlson," he began, his voice a low rumble. "Did you or did you not intentionally deposit these materials onto the plaintiff's property?" Karen's composure shattered. It was a joke, a harmless prank. He's being so dramatic," she stammered, her voice rising in pitch. The judge's eyebrow arched. A silent, pointed question. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably in his seat, a flicker of panic in his eyes. The room felt like it was holding its breath. Then, my surprise witness was called. The truck driver from the delivery company. He testified that he'd been given a substantial cash tip by a woman matching Karen's description to dump the contents of the truck onto my lawn. The gasp from the spectators was audible. The twist of a seemingly petty squabble turning into an orchestrated crime was a delicious, gut-punching moment. Karen's face, once so haughty, went pale, then mottled with red. She was caught. The judge's verdict was swift and decisive. Karen was found guilty of trespassing and intentional property damage. He ordered her to pay for the professional cleanup, reimburse me for my time and effort, and, in a final, poetic twist, to perform 100 hours of community service, all to be served at the city's recycling center. The look on her face was a masterpiece of crushed ego and utter defeat. She finally collapsed, not just in this courtroom, but as the self-proclaimed monarch of Evergreen Acres. The victory was sweet, not just for me, but for every neighbor she had ever bullied or belittled. It was a reminder that even the smallest battles, fought with truth and tenacity, can lead to the fall of a tyrant. Leaving the courthouse, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The sun seemed a little brighter, the air a little cleaner. The triumph wasn't about the money or the revenge. It was about the principle. It was about standing up for myself and for my community. About proving that no one, not even the most self-important HOA president, is above the law. It's a lesson I hope others can learn from. What do you think? Was taking her to court the right thing to do? Or was there a better way to handle the situation?